Okay, we're going to talk about the comments and hate speech that the author of the It Gets Better campaign, Dan Savage, um, basically forced upon journalism students at a high school, where he attacked Christianity and repeatedly attacked it. Why does he attack Christianity? That's kind of interesting. Yeah, I listened to a little bit of what he said, and there are some things in the Bible apparently he takes issue with, and he I think what he doesn't like about Christianity is it makes him feel uncomfortable with his choices or the choices of his movement. The reason why I say choices, and this is the LGBT crowd, lesbians, gays, bis, and transgender. The reason why I say choice, um, I've thought about that word, and do I think it's possible that maybe someone has some type of certain proclivities towards something? Possibly. Do I think environment plays a lot in that type of lifestyle choice? Absolutely. And Dan attacks those things, and it was nice to see a number of the high school students not put up with his nonsense, and they walked out. Now, why do I say choice? Because I've discussed with some gay people this, and they're like, well, why would I want to choose to have this kind of animosity in a lifestyle? Yeah, that's a good question. Why do some people choose to do things that can lead to injury or heartache? Why do women choose to go back to their abusers time and time and time again? You know, um, excuse me. Perhaps it's some type of mental issue. Um, but what's interesting is if their whole argument is we're born this way, this is natural, this is normal, therefore we have to be accepted. It has to be okay. I disagree with that. Why? Let me tell you why. I was married for 7 years and I got two beautiful daughters. Okay. Um, and during my 7 year marriage, I absolutely, unequivocally loved my wife. She was the most beautiful woman in the world to me, period, hands down. But that doesn't mean that I didn't see any other women that I found attractive. I was married, not dead. I mean, wouldn't that be a normal, natural thing to look around and be like, wow, that's a good looking woman? And I'll admit it, that sure, there's, urges or things that pop into someone's mind. Okay. And I would say that that would be considered normal and natural. However, I, okay, I had to suppress what was a normal and natural urge to do what is the right thing, that I know was the right thing, and that was to be faithful to my wife. Now, why, if that is to be monogamous, which is a rational thing, and it was the right thing. So, if being gay is normal and natural, and you should always act on what's normal and natural, then by the very, but how do I put this? I guess, by accepting that, you have to accept every other, quote, normal and natural reaction, as defined by who? As defined just by the person. We see pedophiles who say that they were attracted to children since, as long as they could remember. Well, geez, so long as the minor child doesn't object and, no one's getting hurt, geez, isn't that just a normal and natural thing? No, it's not. So that's why I just don't buy the whole argument. They say, oh, homosexual is a natural thing. It's in the animal kingdom. Yeah, well, so are lions killing the offspring of other lions to bring the female in the heat. You know, what, we're going to sit there and say, well, if that's natural in the animal kingdom, geez, maybe that ought to be acceptable in the human kingdom. No, we're not animals, people. Anyway, that aside, Dan Savage, you're a thug. You're a chattering phallus of misguided, belligerent incantations. What you've done is you just minimized everything that you were fighting for, because you've just proven that you on this anti-bullying against gays, you're not for anti-bullying. You're just for anti-bullying so long as people agree with your point of view. That's all it is. And I think you're repugnant. I mean, just to see your, matter of fact, I'd never seen you before, and I saw you on the news today. And fortunately, at least initially, I had it on mute for a little bit, and I could tell by your facial expressions, and so I was like, what's this guy's problem? I click it, and then to hear the dribble that came out of your lips. Yeah, par for the course. Par for the course. Now look, as far as bullying, to the kids who feel that they're, quote, bullied, there's a difference between kind of teased and harassed as a kid and actually being bullied. Okay, now let me tell you, when I grew up, I was short, and I was always picked on as being short. Also, during my middle school years, my head hadn't caught up to the size of my teeth, primarily my front teeth. And that I was picked on that, by some, not all. And, eventually, yeah, it does get better. People grow out of that phase, and things do get better. So remember something. Sticks and stones may break your bones, but names will never hurt you. Okay? Been around for, 100 years, I suppose. And it's something good to live by. Look, you're going to get teased. Part of life. It just is. Now, where I draw the line is when you start physically assaulting someone or saying something that is, a physical threat. If someone says, "Hey, I'm gonna come burn your house down," or I'm gonna kick your ass, or I'm gonna steal your iPod next time I see you. Okay, those acts cross the line. But to sit there and say, "Hey, bucktooth," or "Hey, softy," or "Hey, fruitcake," your cupcake, or whatever it is, I don't know what kids call each other nowadays. It's going to happen. Toughen up. Grow a skin. Life is rough. All this stuff about, gee, let's just go run to the principal. Let's go get a grief counselor. Or come on. You can't always run to a counselor when life gets a little bit hairy. You got to deal with it. Let some of this crap just roll off your back like water off a duck's back. You just got to. You can't sit there and harbor this stuff and dwell on it. You can't, you can't go into this Dan Savage mode. And, life sucks sometimes, but life can also be great. So the things that matter, focus on that. The things that don't matter, all these little boobs in high school that tease you and taunt you and stuff. Look, like I said, sticks and stones. Assholes get it in the long run. They do. They'll eventually get their comeuppance. But Mr. Savage, you got to be ashamed of yourself for speaking to students like that in a captive audience, assaulting their Christian beliefs. You ought to, since you apparently have looked into the Bible so much, that Christ taught you to, turn the other cheek, right? So, why don't you dwell on the good parts of Christianity instead of attacking all these people? What you've made quite apparent, though, Mr. Savage, is you really don't mind bullying so long as it's not against the groups of people that you're trying to promote. And that's what it comes down to. And you, sir, ought to be ashamed of yourself. And that's all there is to it. Parents, teach your kids to stand on their own 2 feet. You teach them that, what? People are going to be pricks in life, but that's okay. They're not there forever. Just toughen up. Students, kind of look out for one another. if you see someone physically bullying someone or threatening, yeah, that needs to be dealt with. Otherwise, it's just taunting, teasing. If it's happening on Facebook or whatnot, get off Facebook. Close the page or, disallow someone from visiting your site or whatnot. You can take certain steps. Parents, you need to be parents. Kids, grow a little bit thicker skin, because listening to guys like Savage, Dan Savage, are not going to help you in life, really, because you can't eliminate what he wants eliminated. So I know you can do it. Just toughen up a little bit, grin and bear it, because you know what? Eventually, it does get better, and life is definitely something worth living. So anyway, that's all I got to say. Again, Dan Savage, you should be ashamed of yourself, sir.